On this episode of My World Podcast, we have the pleasure of meeting Gil Robertson, who I met as a publicist, and he's the founder of AFCA, which is the African American Film Critics Association. They just had a huge event here in Los Angeles, and the pictures from it were just overwhelming. I mean, just so many people came through. And when you Google him, Black Enterprise Magazine says he's also the editor of the nationally syndicated lifestyle column, Robertson Treatment, and that appears in 30 markets nationwide. He's a co-founder and president, well, I already said that part about AFCA, and also produces the actual award show. Now, he's also a writer. I mean, he has cover stories on 30 magazines and all, but now he's writing books. So this is his third book. He calls it an anthology, and it's about love. Gil Robertson, you want to talk about love. The title of the book, Where Did Our Love Go? Love and Relationships in the African American Community. Gil Robertson, welcome to My World Podcast.
Thank you so much, Isidra.
Now, why did you, Gil Robertson, want to write about love?
Well, Where Did Our Love Go is the third in a series of anthologies that I've edited that delve into critical issues that impact the African American community. The first one, Not in My Family, dealt with the AIDS struggle and crises in our community, which was followed by Family Affair, What It Means to Be African American Today, which basically dealt with the whole identity question that a lot of African Americans still are plagued by, are still trying to come to terms with. And so for the next project, I wanted to look at love and relationships. We all know that love is certainly an evergreen topic in our community, but not for the reasons that one might expect. A lot of us are in crises when it comes to love, how to find it, how to sustain it, how to keep it alive. And so I thought that it would be helpful to provide the reader with, some interesting, clever, comprehensive dialogue that looks at the subject of love in order to help people find it in their own lives.
So you've had a lot of experience in love?
Well, I've had some people. I've been loved, so I'm grateful for the fact that I can look back and say that I have had two people in particular outside of my parents who loved me in that special way. Mm-hmm. But right now I'm looking for love. My essay is in the single category. The book is divided into 3 sections: single, married, and divorced, so that readers can sort of catch a glimpse of those opinions and perspectives based on where those people are at in their lives.
Now, I read over this book. I'll be honest, I didn't read every one because I just got it a couple of days ago. But it's not just you talking about love. It's you've collected all these different people from different life experiences to write, I guess, essays or chapters on their personal experiences. And I was really intrigued by the single one. We'll start with that one. The woman whose name I don't have right in my head, but she was talking about how she's single and a lot of her friends seem as though she's got cancers. I mean, it's like something wrong with her, as opposed to she's deciding to be single at this point in her life. And can you kind of give us a little nugget of what happened in that chapter?
Well, the single chapter, we have a total of 45 different contributors. And they're coming from all different places, because all of us are different. For some, singlehood, people who are single are sort of like pariahs. It's like, why are you single? Why haven't you been able to, to find a partner, find a mate? Is there something wrong with you? And I think in the case of that particular piece, this particular author, for this moment in her life, she just simply chooses to live as a single woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's where she's finding her peace, if that's where she is at, as a human being.
She lost her married for her as her friends, because I have this one son. He travels all over the world to weddings. He has been in so many weddings. So many of his friends have gotten married. And, when you get to a certain age, he's like 36 or something. And you get to a certain age, that's what's happening. And my mother always talks about she got married because her friends were getting married, cousins were getting married. So that's what makes it a little tough. It's not like she's just a single woman and, I choose to be single. She's doing it with the backdrop of everybody around her coming in and out of marriages.
Absolutely. I mean, the traditional timeline is that, from your mid-20s to your mid-30s is sort of like the time when folks get married. But statistically, really across all racial class lines, people are getting, Americans at least, are getting married a lot later. They're foregoing the marriage experience, the rites of marriage, in order to pursue their career and pursue their own personal ambitions. However, in the African American community, just the general fallout across all income, background levels, with the whole marriage thing to begin with. And even for those who are connecting and finding a life partner, the ability to sustain those relationships over a period of time, it has become more and more difficult.
Yeah, so the statistic, and I don't know what it is, but it's horrendous with how many young people are growing up without two parents.
It's over 42%. And one of the statistics that I uncovered in putting together the project is that a child born in slavery had a higher likelihood of growing up in a traditional nuclear family than we do today. So the numbers are absolutely appalling.
Did you get a consensus in your writing of why that's happening?
Well, it's a lot of things. There are a lot of lifestyle factors. We're a much more mobile society today. People just are foregoing the rights of marriage because they want to pursue their career interests or their personal interests. The availability of suitable partners, is also something that a lot of Black women have expressed concern with. Mm-hmm. Interracial dating, of course, continues to be, a challenge, whether or not to do or not to do. There are a lot of different reasons why, if you're looking at specifically the African American demo, why we're not connecting in the way that we once did. And also mental health is a real big problem in our community. And I'm not necessarily saying mental health in the way of, a serial killer or someone going out and, blowing up a building, but just in terms of how African American people see themselves and how they value one another. That's a very big issue. And it has profound ways. It manifests itself in profound ways in how we relate to one another and how we get along. So we really, really have a lot of healing that we need to do internally, which is why with my piece, it starts off, it really deals with, with self, how to get yourself together, how to be happy and be in love within before you can, be in love with someone else.
You said you dealt with single, married, divorced. Did you deal with that fourth thing that is kind of like all in the news about the whole gay marriage, or did you lump it all together in marriage?
Yeah, the LGBT community is certainly included. They've been included in all of my books because LGBT people are part of the Black community. So, as with the other previous collections, we do have, representation from gay and lesbian African Americans
who love each other. So this is my thing.
Or who are looking to find love.
Right, that's true. There's this woman that I met online. She's a white woman who adopted a Black daughter, and she didn't really know what to do with her hair. And I understand that because even in our own families, sometimes we don't know what to do with that one person's hair who's different from everybody else in the family. So I get that. And she started a website called Chocolate Hair Vanilla Care. And she has tons and tons of readers, and I'm one. It's very interesting because we're all trying to figure out this natural hair thing, And but the point is that so many white mothers are adopting our Black babies. How do you address that? As far as, is that part of the lack of love? Why are so many of our kids available for adoption and being adopted out to families that are not Black?
Well, it speaks to mental health. It speaks to, Black people in this country are really in a critical zone in terms of, quite frankly, I think even our very survivability. And I think that the reason why you have so many Black children is because they don't have families who can love them and who can care for them. And so they're put into the, child welfare system. And that's what happens.
Drugs
You
has
know,
to do a lot with it, though. I think drugs kind of leads to incarceration and poverty
well, again,
and getting caught in the system.
that speaks to identity. That speaks to, do I value who I am?
Mm,
If I value who I am, I'm going to take care of myself.
right.
If I value who I am, I'm going to support and love my family. If I value who I am, I'm going to support and love my community. So drugs is simply symptomatic of a problem of someone who is dealing with mental health challenges.
Right.
And again,
Right.
it may not be as apparent as a serial killer or someone going out and shooting up Macy's or the post office, but mental health, the status of our mental health is of critical concern, and I don't think enough people are really paying attention to it. With these books, I attempt to engage African American readers in a conversation that hopefully will lead to some sort of constructive dialogue and some sort of actionable measures that will address these issues. But so that's how I contribute.
You said these books, and I'm glad you did, because Steve Harvey has this book everybody's talking about, and Tyrese Gibson put out a book, and Michael Baisden has books out. Here's Gil Robertson with books. Men talking about love, which was really you didn't hear men talking a whole lot about love. I mean, directly. Is this, what's going on here with this?
Well, I mean, contrary to what people might think, love is, and having love in your life is something that's very important to African American men. As a journalist, I'm taking a look at the situation a little bit differently than perhaps Mr. Harvey or Mr. Dyson. One of the key things about being a journalist is the whole act of discovery and the whole act of exploration, examination of a particular issue. And so, as a journalist, my approach in putting together these works is to provide the reader with information, with perspectives, with opinions that I think will be useful for them to form an opinion for themselves. We're not looking to dictate to anyone, but we're looking to provide them with a set of perspectives, a set of ideas and opinions that hopefully will be life-changing for them, for the reader.
Do you have any authors in your collection for Where Did the Love Go? Love and Relationships in the African American Community, who are well known?
Oh, we have a lot of well-known people. In this particular collection of essays, we have Byron Pitts, who is arguably right now the most important African American journalist in the country. He recently left 60 Minutes, where he was one of their primary correspondents for a new relationship with ABC. We also have Anthony Hamilton, who is the top, ranked R&B recording artist.
And he's married, right? Did he do the married section?
He's married to, and his wife is also in the book.
Mm-hmm.
We have Leslie Gordon, who is married to Ed Gordon, the journalist from BET. We even have Frida Payne, who, is a 1960s and 70s icon,
yes,
who unfortunately is in the divorce segment, talking about, what worked, what didn't work, and where she's at today. One of the things that I'm proudest of with this new book is the fact that we have such a great roundtable of journalists, of people who work in the media, who are media professionals, who really know how to use words to express themselves and to express an opinion.
Right.
And it's, with each effort, the thing that I am most appreciative of is how the contributors, how the co-authors really, really come to the projects with passion and with real commitment behind the particular issue that they're addressing.
Mm-hmm. So you just approach these people, you happen to know these people, and you say, hey, I'm doing a book. Do you want to do a quick chapter?
With every book, because of my 20-year career as a journalist, I know a lot of people.
Yes, you do.
And And usually we tap into those relationships, when we're putting together one of these books.
Mm-hmm.
As an A&E journalist over the last 2 decades, I've met and become fairly well acquainted with a lot of celebrities, be it, entertainment, athletes, from the political life. And, like we were speaking about earlier, I would like to think that my brand, as a journalist, as a media professional, is such that people take serious the work that I do. And so therefore, when I come to them and say, hey, I would like your voice, for you to share your voice in a particular project, most people say yes. And at this point, we've developed a reputation at this point. This is the third book in where people are actually looking for the opportunity to be in one of the projects. So I'm grateful for that, and I am grateful to the contributors for this project and all of my projects for being willing to trust me, with their words and with their thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So let's tell folks how we can get the book. And then I have one question, and that is, did the book write you, or did you write the book? Because sometimes these things just grab you and hold you and won't let you go until you say, look, I just got to sit down and put this out, because you have to be one of the busiest people I know. So how do you take time out to coordinate all of these people and write them back and forth? And, hey, did you get it in? Did you send it? Did you edit it? That had to take a lot of time. So how do we get the book?
Well, the book is available where all books are sold. It's not a self-published book. It's a book through, traditional publishing. It's at Walmart. It's at Target. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's available online. So we definitely, I think, for your readers, they will certainly, they will enjoy the book. Mm-hmm. I can't state that enough, how people, my readers, the feedback that I get about how much they enjoy it, how much they enjoy, the projects and hearing the perspectives and just sort of going on the ride of, where the books take them.
So it's Where Did Our Love Go? Love and Relationships in the African American Community. If you go to Amazon or all these other places he's referring to, that's what the book's title. Where Did Our Love Go? Love and Relationships in the African American Community by Gil Robertson. So before I ask that, go ahead.
So welcome. Sorry to cut you off, Isidra. Welcome invite your audience to join the conversation by coming to our Facebook page, which is Black Love is Forever. And on our Twitter, which is Where Did R, the letter R, Love Go. Our website is www.wheredidr, the letter R, lovego.com. And that's how you can get in with this project. Get on board.
Gil Robertson, where did our love go?
I wish I knew. I mean, we're still trying to, even after putting together this project, it's still a mystery. I mean, I grew up in a time where, I grew up in an environment filled with love. My parents loved me. I felt very safe in our home, in our neighborhood. And I felt actually loved by the community. I think that our community has suffered so many numerous attacks from so many different places, both inside and outside of the home, that I think that it's made too many of us wary of opening themselves up to the possibility of finding a partner, because people, vulnerability is a tough thing, and you don't want to, how many of us, who wants to bear the brunt or the pain of opening yourself up only to be smacked in the face or to be abused? And so it's a difficult question to answer, but I do think that that this project will bring readers to a better understanding of what they can do to find love for themselves.
Because it is important, because that's the glue. I've been in a marriage for, we have 2 dates. One when we kind of got together, and when we actually got married, the kids were at the wedding, because we were grappling with, there's a thing, when you're going to get into this long-term relationship. And so there's this, jockeying for a position. And when we finally gave it up and decided to be together, everything fell into place. I recommend marriage highly because I've enjoyed it so much. But I do know that others who are in bad marriages need to go. You got to go. If it's bad, you don't stay there and get beat and all that kind of stuff. Got to go. So I get all that. But I do think that when I moved to this neighborhood where we are, and we're in South LA, I was so glad that there are fathers all around here dealing with their wives and their families. Where we moved from, we were over in Leimert Park, and we just happened to be on a block where my husband was being borrowed by everybody around me, because they didn't have a man around to go put the mirror up over the mantel or whatever. They always had to come and can I borrow your husband? So I'm just really glad to see that in our communities we do have these pockets of greatness. But when I say greatness, the glue that's going to keep us together and move us forward. I have 5 sons. Only one of them has been married, and he's not married currently. So I'm like, these sisters out here don't have a chance. And 5 brothers right here who are all working and doing their thing are not getting involved. So I don't know. I've never really asked them. I don't want to be the kind of mother that says, when am I getting some grandkids? Anything like that. I do have 2 from the one that did get married, thank God. But my point is that, I can see, my youngest is 30, so I can see how frustrating it might be for young women today that the men are good men. They're out here doing great things, but something along the way, I don't know, it was the music, the videos, whatever, something kind of pushed them away from wanting to commit to marriage.
It's a tough question. And I think that it's something, it's a burden that all of us in our community have to bear. How did things unravel so much, in our communities, and not really look at what role that we play in that process, but what can we do now that things are the way they are to rehabilitate and to bring about change. And so, as a writer, as a journalist, as a media person, this is my way this is my give back ultimately to the community. But I do think that there's more that certainly myself and everyone, in the Black community can do to help rehabilitate the community and help return it, as you say, to the greatness that we know that we are able to achieve and be about.
Right, because that village was raising the kids. I get fussed out by all the women down the street on my way home if I did something wrong, and my mother would know about it. I mean, that was part of what kept us, on the straight and narrow. For most of us, there were some of us that didn't get that message too in my generation. So I'm not saying got it, but it was so much better, I think. Thank you very much for speaking with us. Now we have Gil Robertson. Do you have a website just for you?
Yeah, my website is www.robertsontreatment.com, ROBERTSONTREATMENT.com.
Okay. And so that is, are you still doing that column?
The Robertson Treatment, we're in our 16th year.
Wow. So you did all of that and all these books. So
yeah.
Thank you for writing about Where Did Our Love Go, so we can at least start the conversation or keep the conversation going, so that we're thinking about the things that we're doing and not getting just caught up in ourselves and getting away from that me kind of thing, and dealing with actually loving people. It doesn't always mean a piece of paper in marriage, but it does mean some kind of stability. And with my husband, anybody who tells you they've been together 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, a whole lot has happened. They're together. They stayed together. That doesn't mean it was just all sweetness and light. It just meant that they made a choice. And I think that's important for us to think about. Young people out there, when you're looking around, just remember that start looking at what you can build. My son is a financial wealth coach, and he always talks about 2 incomes. The power of 2 incomes is so much better, especially when kids are involved, than when only one. So something to think about. So I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you do too. The book is called Where Did Our Love Go? Love and Relationships in the African American Community. Gil, you did it. I think it's a great book.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.